Do you ever feel like this day is the first day of the rest of my life? The thing is, I had this feeling a few years ago when I was 24, and I had found a spiritual practice which, in a matter of 2 or 3 days, completely changed the way that I was feeling mentally, but also physically. I'd been suffering from diseases for years, and all of a sudden, in a few days, a lot of it was starting to fade, starting to go away, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." And I then decided to go to India, and I actually just I'd never looked up anything about India, I knew nothing, and I just booked my ticket and I went to a spiritual master in India, and I served as a volunteer for 1.5 years. And today I feel that there is like another moment like that. Like sometimes in life, you have like good intentions. You say like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change this about my life. I want to accomplish this, learn this, whatever." And then sometimes there are those days where, even though on the outside nothing much seems to have happened, but on the inside somehow you know that something has shifted and your life might never be the same. And I feel that today has been that day for me again. And I'm not gonna go into too many details what exactly happened because it would take too long, I think. But to keep it short, I've been struggling with a lot of scattered thoughts because there were so many things that I felt I had to do to get to a certain level of spiritual, financial growth, career growth, but mainly actually in the field of financial independence. And I got like clarity on how to move forward. And basically, what I saw is that I'm a person that is not able to have too many priorities at a time. Like, priority is a word that initially meant the one most important thing. And in my life, priorities were many. Like, I had so many things going on that I'm starting a business, but actually I'm hardly ever focusing on it because I had so many other projects going. And I just decided to cut a few things off and say, like, well, my mind is really scattered right now, as you might be hearing. I will just, take a week rest and start going all in on the business and going all in on getting my energy up again. I spent 1.5 years with a spiritual master in India, and it might sound very exotic. It was definitely the case, but the thing is that what I did there was basically a lot of there was some spiritual side to it, definitely, but it was also a lot of just physical work, and I basically lost touch, like coming back to my home country after being in India for some time. I sort of lost touch with my spiritual practice after an accident that I had in my last period in India. I got a very big accident. I needed to recover from it for like 2 years. It took me now 2 years are over, but I needed like a lot of physical treatments, and I was a lot of physical pain, and I basically lost touch with my spiritual practice because it was a very body oriented spiritual practice which I could not perform without pain for like so long, and then I stopped practicing it, and now I'm able to do it again. Since a few months I'm perfectly healthy again, but I lost that vibrancy, and the reason why I was thinking about making this video was I had this idea of, a not so humble man. Because as still quite a young guy, I spent so much time in a spiritual community serving a spiritual master, like doing all kinds of tasks. And then I came back to my home country and basically, I mean, of course, those experiences that I had, um, you don't really forget them, but they become a bit back of mind, and you get lost in like the I don't know like the way that most people live, especially when you're not surrounded by quote unquote spiritual people anymore. You start to lose it and lose connection to your spiritual side, and especially when you stop practicing your spiritual practices. It's very easy to get lost. Like at some point, I was thinking, well, I found it. I found it. And I found this constant joy, and then you realize that in a blink of an eye, you can just lose that joy again. You can basically get lost in worry, and get lost in overthinking, get lost in I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other thing. Like you can just get lost so easily, and that happened to me. I just basically lost myself. And yesterday, actually, here this is quite an empty room, which creates a lot of echo. I just moved into a house with my girlfriend, and I felt that this house, we have one room which is just purely dedicated to spiritual practice. Um, this is my desk, but upstairs we got a room dedicated to just spiritual practice, and I felt like you know, entering that room and starting to feel myself again, my body, that I got so out of touch with myself. I just basically lost joy completely. I lost its vibrancy. I lost, I don't know, like the synchronicities in life, the zest, like whoa, like getting up in the morning with energy and with like this love, also like love for life, love for yourself, for other people, for whatever it is that you want to do. I didn't feel that anymore. I got the last few months I got into like starting a business, into like some family long pending things, and I was just constantly thinking. I was not feeling anymore. And yesterday, for the first time, I actually did some spiritual practice again after a long time. I mean, here and there I did a little bit, but never really deep. And yesterday I did it again, and I was like, I want to dedicate myself to my spiritual practice again, and not just do it in my room upstairs. I want to also, share. First get my energy higher again, get that vibrancy, that deep joy and love again, which yesterday I felt for a few moments, and later today I still want to do a bit of practice to get into it again. But basically, what I wanted to say is that you can get so lost in planning, and planning keeps on going and going and going and going and going. It's like the mind can keep on making plans and keep on refining things, and you can philosophize, you can talk about spirituality, but if you don't feel yourself, if you don't actually do a spiritual practice, or at least if you've practiced a little bit, or if you're very sensitive, you might be able to feel a signal somewhere in your body, or you can feel your heart opening or closing as a signal to guide you. There are different ways depending on the person. Some people just get like a sort of like a deep emotional clarity. Some people just get like an impulse, like I feel I have to do this thing. And once you've made connection with that inner guide, yeah, you could say the inner guru, the inner master, and you actually start following it again, and don't just do your spiritual practice, but you actually live according to it in your day-to-day life. I mean, that's very challenging because I was basically taught to do that in a spiritual context, being a disciple of a spiritual master in India, right? A guru, as they say. But doing that is already very challenging. But at least then you're operating in a context where there's some other people also in the spiritual community, and you can basically communicate in the same terms, or there's a level of understanding between other people that do either the same practice or some other spiritual practice, but living like yourself, like your true authentic self in the normal world, like as my spiritual master said, like in the marketplace, it's very difficult. It's extremely challenging. It's incredibly challenging. Like it's ridiculous. Because in the past, I was chronically ill for a few years, and when I was, sitting in a shed in the woods, I mean, then of course it's also you still have your mind, constantly trying to disturb you and all, but you can at least, try and practice, and at some point, usually something starts to happen. Some bliss starts to come up, some insights come up. But if you have to live in a normal world with people constantly worrying, like with the rate of things going faster and faster and faster, they're constantly getting notifications and all, it's very, very challenging. And I just felt that, in order to navigate this world, having recovered from my big accident I had 2 years ago, and starting to be physically stronger again, I felt like, whoa, if I just live like a normal person, and you can be physically healthy and all, but if you don't take care of your mind, like you don't necessarily get like mad or crazy instantly, but a lot of people are actually on the brink of going a little bit mad. But what starts to happen is that there's just no joy. There's just no joy, or like, as you're seeing now a little bit with me, like my mind is very scattered, which is why I've decided to take a week off, and today I got this insight on how to continue my life. And so I will take some time off this week to feel my body again, get into my body again, get out of my mind. And then hopefully, after a week, my mind will be a bit less scattered, a bit more focused, because now it's like, if you have that scattered mind, you can just not do anything well. Like your mind goes in this direction, the other direction. It's like a bit of a hazy feeling, and like you're up in the clouds, it's just impossible to do anything well. And I've seen in my life, when I try to really, really do things well, there are basically two factors. One was the thing has to call me, not I want the thing, but the thing has to call me. And the second element was focus. But usually, when the thing already calls you, focus comes easily. But still, when you're very, very scattered, it can still be very, very difficult to focus and to actually do the thing that you feel called to do. And so, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, if I'm even gonna post this video, but this is the state that, I was in now. And I wanna take up spiritual practice again and see how that influences my behavior, my being, my energy, my vibrancy. Because what I noticed in the past, that when I actually did some dedicated spiritual practice, you even see it in the face. Like you see it that there is like a sort of a radiance in the face, like the faces can start to glow a little bit, eyes start to glow a little bit sometimes. Um, and there's just this like, I don't know, this energy exuding from you. You can very often just when you look at pictures of people, you can actually see it. And when you're in people's presence, it's even more easily, you can like feel it. You can feel the vibrancy of those people. It's like there's energy coming, like joy coming towards you just by being close to those people. Sadly, in Western society, you don't really find those people very often. But still, they're out there. And yeah, well, it's closer for now because I keep on rambling. That's usually what happens when my mind is like this, not really focused. It keeps on going and going and going. But yeah, let's see when I will talk to this camera again. And yeah, have a great day. And if you're into spiritual practice, I can only encourage you to try and find a sort of a routine or like I don't know, like a group or something, or like online videos or something, or some kind of a calming audio or something to just like keep in touch with yourself, because it's very difficult actually if you're on your own in like the quote unquote normal world. It's very difficult to stay connected to yourself and to not just scroll on your phone, or like start complaining about whatever happened to you, or just like talk as I'm doing now, just keep on talking and never actually feeling what is going on. And so yeah, so today I basically felt that this is one of those moments where it's the first day of the rest of my life. And I don't know, I can only recall one of those moments in the past, um, where I felt like now a new chapter of my life is starting in such a clear manner. I've had those days where, I had two very big accidents in my life that basically, the first one took me 9 years to recover, the second one 2 years to recover at still a young age. So I mean, I went through those things, and those were also changing moments. But in the positive sense, this could be the second moment in my life. I'm not sure if it is, because I don't recall. I recall that one when I decided to go to India and basically just book a ticket and just see what happens basically. And I ended up I went back to my home country for a short bit because I had to take care of a few things. But then I stayed for about 1.5 years, almost uninterruptedly. Due to visa, I had to like leave India a few times. But yeah, it's one of those days, and it might be for you at some point. And the thing is, now it's up to me to actually follow this clarity that has come up. And the clarity was about, there are basically only two things that I want to focus on when it comes to the non-spiritual stuff. And the spiritual stuff is like the third thing that I want to have a dedicated spiritual practice, and also, implement my spiritual insights and, the signals that you get, like when you feel something has to be done or has to be said, or you should keep quiet. Like even today, after almost not having done any spiritual practice for 2 years, I still feel it quite clearly most of the time when I have to do something or not do something, or or say something or not say something, but still, it's even when that clarity is there, it's still very difficult to follow it because if you want to go radical into spirituality, which I actually want to, but I'm honestly very scared to do, if you want to be radical in your spiritual practice and want to get to, uh, if you believe that the highest levels of joy that you can get and be your most authentic self, oh God, it's going to be very difficult because you will have to break a lot of rules of society, and most people around you are probably going to try and keep you as you are, keep you small, keep you down on your feet. And they don't want you to take a leap of faith. They don't want you to try things you never tried out that might be like, I don't know, like going to India for 1.5 years um, when you're 24 and you know everyone is saying, well, you should, you should just start doing your 9 to 5 job. You just graduated. But then I went to India for 1.5 years. It's like sometimes, you feel that you have to do certain things, and if you then act on those things, that is what is called courage. And that courage can make living worthwhile. But, when you take risks or when you show the courage to, do something that no one around you has done, sometimes there are some consequences, and sometimes those consequences are very big. When you take a decision, you also take a decision against something else. You decide to do something, well, then you know that you cannot do that other thing that you would have done otherwise, maybe. So life is pretty damn risky if you want to live it fully, and that's what I want to start doing again. Like, I spent 2 years in survival mode. Yes, I was recovering from a very heavy accident. But looking back, would it have been possible to continue to do maybe not my full spiritual practice, which I couldn't do physically at some point, but maybe I could have done some other things that, were less physical. Maybe I could have done it. I didn't do it, and that's okay, and that's the past now, but from this point on, I want to, start doing it again. And just for the rest, besides that, I just want to focus on my business, which I started a couple months ago. We had some issues going on, and then I moved, and then I had all those other projects in my mind, and I was basically just constantly overthinking, not really doing much on my business. Because I had no clarity on how to act, on what to do and what not to do. It was such a chaos in my mind, and now it's become clear that I actually want to do that business that I'm doing. And I also want to, I've been going to the gym for a couple of months because after the accident I lost I was never a muscular guy, but I lost everything in my muscles. I was incredibly weak. Building it up again now, going to the gym a couple of times a week, really enjoying it. And I just want to focus on the business and on the gym, and basically just for the rest just try and get the energy up higher again. I already feel a bit better now compared to when I started rambling to my phone now. So yeah, I wish you a good day, and hopefully you can discover some joy, and yeah, see you next time.